So you're on current patch and want to use Pocket Rocket, but you're tired of it running out? Here's how. Before we begin, make sure you have an inventory full of weapons. An easy place you can get tons of stuff is over here in Highland Stable. There's tons of bushes you can just chop down to get a bunch of tree branches. There you go. So once your inventory is full, warp to Demizuin. Cold Fuse is the action of creating a link between a shield or a weapon and a piece of equipment and item. This is similar to what you would see in Fuse Entanglement, except you can have less benefits from using the item itself. For example, you won't be able to do Pocket Rocket from just cold fusing rocket to a shield. But you can also have some similar effects, and so this is what we're going to use for this part of the setup. To perform Cold Fuse, place a steering stick down in this area and target it with Ultra Hand while over here. Now back away, and you'll see that if I close Ultra Hand here, this steering stick will disappear. That's because it calls, and we're going to abuse this to get what we call a fuse storage. To get this fuse storage, walk away until you're about here and select fuse. Now you have to press L and both L and B on your controller at the exact same time, followed quickly by ZL. After you've done this, walk towards the steering stick and open the recall menu. Go into your shield menu, drop the shield, and equip another one. If you've done it correctly, the steering stick will drop behind you, and this is what we call a cold fuse. So now, this steering stick is cold fused to this shield. So all you have to do is unequip this shield, pick this one up, and you're done. Now we are going to perform an SDC, which will create a link between Link and the steering stick. All we have to do for this is mount it, switch shields, and while we're exiting the menu, mash B. There we go. So you'll notice now that you can't actually use the L menu. You are what we call is a rune lock. So take out another steering stick and just mount it, and you should be able to cancel rune lock. Now take this original steering stick and fuse it to a weapon. Doing this is known as protocolling. You'll notice that if you drop this weapon and equip another one, and then on pause, Link will temporarily coal. This is what we'll need for later. Never pick this weapon up if you have another one equipped, or else you'll have to start over again. So unequip this weapon, pick it up, and just put it over here in this corner because we'll need it for later. Now we will need to fuse entangle this steering stick to one of our shields. To do this, we are going to perform fuse storage. Walk up to the item, select recall, but instead of going into the menu and drop swapping, what we're going to do is press the R button to throw, and immediately after open up the left D-pad menu for shields. And if you see that the steering stick has started fusing to the shield, but it isn't actually fused in the menu, then that means you have done it properly. So just switch to a different shield, and you will have fuse entangled. Now for this part, we need to do an SDC, but we can't just get on it and switch shields like what we did earlier, because it works differently with fuse entanglement. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise this up in the air, bringing that down, and stand in the middle of the steering stick where you see the feet marks. Just put your feet on that. You can also just mount it and cancel it. Recall the stick, and when you're up in the air, open the D-pad menu, drop the shield, and mash A. If you see that didn't work, then try to readjust your position and try again. You should see that Link will start clipping through the steering stick, and that means you've done it properly. Now you will be rune locked again, so just get another steering stick out, get on it, and you won't be able to move this. But we need to move it. So in order to counter this effect, pick up both your weapons and warp back to the shrine. Okay, so after the warp, just go back to where you did it. And you'll see that the steering stick that you dropped here is now movable, so just pick this up and put it in the corner here because we'll need it for later. Drop your shield and weapon in here as well. You'll need these for later. The next step is to do an FE chain. So you have to use entangle a shield to a weapon as the same way that we did earlier with the steering stick. But now instead of pressing ZL for fuse storage, you're going to press Y. And instead of going into the shield menu with the left D-pad, you're going to go into the right shield menu. Like this. Like this. And now we're going to drop this over here because we're going to need it for later. Now pick up this weapon here. And this shield. Now get a battery out. Or a big battery, whatever you prefer. I use big batteries because I'm big based. And now we're going to fuse entangle this to a shield. We're going to fuse entangle this to our shield, but we can't use the normal switching method as we did earlier because that would break our FE chain. So what we're going to do instead is use this protocolling mechanic where if you drop it and swap it, it calls Link for a few frames. We're going to use that mechanic to call Link as the big battery is fusing to this shield, and so this will interrupt the fuse and in turn give us fuse entanglement. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to do fuse storage to our shield as usual. Then we're going to walk up to it and activate recall. But instead of just going into our menu and dropping and switching, or just switching, we're going to press R, quickly enter the right D-pad menu for weapons. Now we're going to drop this, still while staying in the quick menu and not letting a single frame in the overworld. Just going to switch to a tree branch, or whatever weapon. And you'll see that this will have FE'd. Feel free to do whatever you want with this tree branch, by the way. You should also pick up this steering stick weapon and just unequip this and pick this weapon up to not break the fuse entanglement chain. Take this battery and just put it in here. Now that you are over here and you have these three items lying around, as well as a weapon with a shield FE to it and a shield with a battery FE to it, we're going to invisible this weapon. And the way we're going to do this, take your shield and put it over here. And take this steering stick and drop it in the calling area. Like this. You'll see that Link is now cold. And what we're going to do now is we're going to open our quick menu, drop this weapon, close the quick menu, and then switch to a different weapon. This will have invisibled our weapon. And now the way that we're going to do to uncall us is to watch a memory, wait a few seconds before you skip it, and then walk towards or run towards the steering stick that you just placed. Do this a few times until Link uncalls. As you can see, that worked for me. Now you should see that you are unable to open the D-pad menus. This is completely normal, don't worry about that. Just take this steering stick and place it out of the calling area so you don't call again. And now to unlock our D-pad, we're going to fill our inventory with weapons back up. So you can pick this farmer's pitchfork up, or no, this is a rusty halberd, my bad. So pick up this rusty halberd and get to this chest over here. So place it like this so it's in parallel with the wall, and place Link's back against the wall, just like this. And we're going to fail drop our weapon. So fail dropping our weapon is dropping it when it's against the wall, but since we're D-pad locked, there is no way we can do this from the normal menu, so we have to use a chest. So just open this chest, go to the desired weapon, and drop it. And now we'll have access to our D-pad menus, as you can see. And now we have to fail drop our shield, but we don't actually have to use a chest for this since now our D-pad is unlocked. So just drop this. As you can see, our battery should have uncalled if you did everything properly. Now drop this shield attach it to this battery, raise the battery up in the air, recall it, and load a previous save. For me, I'll load this save right here. So what you have just done is called a recall lock. You'll see that the battery is still in place over there, and that's because the weapon that we invisigled is stuck to us invisibly. And since this battery was FE'd to this shield, who was FE'd to the weapon we zuggled, this thing, since it's on Link's back, is still standing over here. Now what we have to do is fuse entangle a rocket to another shield. Doesn't matter which one. This can be done in two different ways. If you have Mineru or access to Mineru, I recommend using method 1. If you do not have Mineru, the only method you can do is method 2. So skip ahead to the part of video you would like. For method 1, what we're going to want to do is cold fuse this steering stick to any piece of equipment. Then we're going to SDC with it. Unlock our Rune menu. Then we're going to summon Mineru. Use this steering stick to any part. Now we're going to go over here, and we're going to get a rocket out. Select fuse. You'll see that when Mineru warps to Link, Link will call for a few frames. Okay, like this, you'll see that it temporarily calls Link for a few frames. So just find the place where Mineru will easily despawn and come back to you so you don't get soft locked. And now you want to fuse this rocket just before you get called. So as you can see, I was too early there. But if you get the right timing, here's what will happen. That means you got it right. So you will have FE'd this rocket to your shield. Now unsummon Mineru. And grab this rocket and take it all the way to where we recall locked the battery. And attach it to the battery. Now you can use Pocket Rocket. Skip ahead to the next part of the video after method 2 to understand the guidelines on how to use this Pocket Rocket, because there are certain things you can and cannot do with it that will either ruin your setup entirely or just a little bit. For method 2 and my personal favorite, what we're going to want to do is shove the steering stick up against the wall to make it cold, and we're going to cold fuse this to our shield. Take this shield and just put it over here. We'll need it for later. Now drop another steering stick and cold fuse this one to a weapon. Grab this weapon and place it over here next to the first one. Now what we're going to want to do is grab this steering stick and place it over here in the culling area. And we're going to SDC with it. So switch to a different shield and then mash B. And then grab this fire fruit or any item and attach it to the steering stick. So now what we're going to want to do is run towards the steering stick over there to cancel the rune knock that we have right now. And so what you want to do for this is just run in this direction. Once Link calls, just watch your memory. Skip it. And then run towards the stick and mash A to mount it as fast as possible. This will stop you from calling again. And now select fuse. Mount this steering stick and SDC with it by switching to a different weapon. And now what we're going to do So we're going to head over here, drop a rocket out, and this is where we're going to fuse entangle this to a shield. So select the shield that you want to fuse entangle it to. I'll be using a Highland shield. And open the fuse menu. Now you'll notice that if we watch a memory and skip it, Link will temporarily cull for a few frames after a while. So what we want to do is time this ZL press to when Link calls. This can be a little tricky, and you can actually use the steering sticks behind you as a visual cue. But here's how it looks like when you succeed.
I guess.
Okay, so this is how it looks like when it works. You'll see that your rocket is fuse entangled to the shield. Now go back to this area, and you have to delete these steering sticks. So to do this, just fuse it to a weapon and destroy it. For this one, you have to pick up the fire fruit first and then destroy it. And now just grab this rocket and attach it to this battery. You can now pocket rocket infinitely. You must understand though that there are a few guidelines concerning the way you have to use this pocket rocket. You are free to just pocket rocket as you would like, but switching to a different shield will cause you to lose this infinite pocket rocket, this fuse entanglement, and you'll have to go back to either method 1 or method 2 as you would like. So to use a different shield, just make sure this shield is dropped beforehand, and then you can equip another one and use it as you would like. But if you wish to go back to using the pocket rocket, make sure you pick this up again without having anything else equipped, or else that would break it. Another thing that you have to be careful about is using this shield for too long will break the pocket rocket, as you can see, but the FE will stay. So if you want to fix this, warp back to the shrine, and the rocket will have unglued from the battery. So to fix this, it's pretty easy. You just have to take this rocket and glue it back. Okay, so one thing you also have to be wary about is warping will ruin the pocket rocket. So if I can give an example of this, is right now I can pocket rocket freely, but if I warp, you'll see that I can no longer use it, but it's still fuse entangled. So again, you can fix this the same way as we just did, by just taking this rocket and attaching it to the battery again. So that's a very easy fix. The last thing you need to be very careful about is using this shield normally. If you do this, this will break the fuse entanglement and you'll have to start over again from either method 1 or method 2. So just be careful of that and don't use this shield normally. So that was how you get infinite pocket rocket, fellas. Hope you enjoyed. If you want more tutorials like this, I have one coming out in about 2 weeks. Remember to subscribe.